You ever heard of an audition, Dillon Gabriel?
There's entertainers and there's competitors, and my job is to compete.
You don't know that competition exists everywhere? That's just a dumb, idiotic, entitled statement.
Whoa.
You want to play in front of empty stands? You want to play when nobody's watching? Good luck, bro. Hope you can play under duress and adversity, because it's coming your way after those comments.
Whoa.
And you don't let it infiltrate yourself. Will you share that with everybody at home?
Yeah, I think it's just part of it. You know, there's entertainers and there's competitors, and I totally understand that. And my job is to compete, and that's what I'm focused on doing. Of course, we're doing this mid-game, but you know, it's something that I'll get used to, and just want to be the best team that I can and create an environment where we can all go do our best work. That's all we want to do. You know, all you in this room are entertainers, and you have a job to do. And I respect it, right? And I'm a competitor, so I have a job to do as well.
If he struggles even a little bit, because what did he say? We know nothing about competition. It's about entertainment. Competition doesn't just take place on the court or field of play. It takes place up here too, in a variety of industries. Go talk to Wall Street. Go talk to all of these Fortune 500 companies. Go talk to media and what have you. There's competition all over the place. It ain't just on the damn football field. It was a very ignorant comment that Dillon Gabriel, respectfully, it was stupid. A very dumb comment to make. First of all, let me tell you something right now. In every walk of life, far beyond the parameters of a football field, people are competing. We compete here on television. You compete with radio shows. You compete on Wall Street. You compete on Madison Avenue. Everything, especially in America, as it pertains to a capitalistic society, involves competition. To the victor goes the spoils. I didn't see any interceptions when he was out there. You see anything like that? I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think Dillon Gabriel did a bad job. I was impressed with the brother, but I'm going to go with Shedeur. You know, the pressure was on him, the spotlight was on him. He showed up out on the field. You know, he played better than expected, reminded everybody who he is and what he brings to the table. I liked it. You know, but that's not to throw any shade on Dillon Gabriel. He came out there, had a couple of mishaps, what have you, but ultimately he played well, and I give him credit where credit is due. But watching Shedeur move the offense or whatever, I thought that his performance was slightly better than Dillon Gabriel. That's just me, guys.
Both the Browns' rookie quarterbacks are being positioned, in their opinion, to start games this upcoming season, but how each quarterback is on a completely different developmental path for the summer here. So they said Shedeur Sanders is the one being, quote, carefully nurtured in a controlled environment, and Dillon Gabriel is being, quote, thrown directly into the fire against the team's best defenders. So that's where we transition over to this article that says why Dillon Gabriel is getting first-team reps while Shedeur Sanders waits his turn.
Echoes the mentality of all of America practically, and most certainly the world, as we see things being globalized more and more every day. It was a stupid, idiotic, immature comment, because clearly you were feeling the heat, because a lot of people was talking about how Shedeur should be QB number 2. But I know he was not talking about Shedeur Sanders. He was talking about the media. Here's the problem. You've now heightened the level of scrutiny coming your way because the media, including myself, heard what you said.
A Cleveland Browns reporter who attended rookie minicamp was asked who throws the ball better between Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel, and he said, it's not even close. It's Shedeur Sanders.
Cleveland Browns rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders, son of Deion Sanders, and Dillon Gabriel, both fighting for a position on the Cleveland Browns depth chart at quarterback. Now, what I find interesting here was last week, Shedeur Sanders had an opportunity to play in the preseason. He did well, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And this week, Dillon Gabriel had an opportunity to play as well. He had an interception that was ran back for a touchdown, and he had a fumble in which the team lost the ball a second time.
One of the two looked better to you in what they were asked to do than the other?
In just throwing the ball, it's not close. Shedeur Sanders.
It's not close
not
either.
Close. No.
Wow, that's okay. Now that's news.
That's news.
Me,
But when he couched up, I said this is rookie minicamp.
Sure.
No pads, no full speed competition. Nobody coming to knock your head off.
It's telling. They're side by side, and they're not asked to do much, but they're both asked to do the same thing, and that one of them looked discernibly better than the other. I think that I didn't know that we would.
Gabriel working with Flacco, Pickett, first teams, and Shedeur, like I said, often works with himself on a different field with the second and third string guys. Mary Kay Cabot, she said they are using mostly Dillon and Kenny Pickett to try to figure out what works in this offense and what doesn't. It's a new scheme. They have to throw some things out. They have to put some things in, and they're not putting all of that on Shedeur's plate as the fourth team quarterback. They're trying to get Kenny and Dillon possibly ready to play, maybe to be the starter and the backup possibly. And, during the pre-draft process, Shedeur Sanders, one of the big pluses in his column was most pro-ready quarterback.
Gabriel was interviewed. He said something I found interesting, which I thought was a shot at his fellow teammate. He said, some people are entertainers and others are competitors. I see myself as a competitor. I thought that was a stray he was trying to throw at his fellow teammate Shedeur. And one thing I can tell you in my short lifespan of 47 going on 48 years, that context, words, and body language matter. More importantly than that, you don't get more light when you try to dim the light of somebody else.
Kevin Stefanski has decided to make Dillon Gabriel the QB2. Shedeur, in my mind, should be the backup. Shedeur is a better quarterback. I sort of see Dillon Gabriel, more of a system type quarterback. I do know that, Shedeur, he may not have the athletic traits or the speed of a Josh Allen, but I do think he has the poise and the comfortability just sort of carrying himself as a quarterback, where I really feel like he's going to end up having success here in the NFL, even though he dropped around 5, even though tons of teams passed on him, maybe for different kinds of reasons.
I'm surprised. I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like a big chunk of people knew that Shedeur Sanders throws the ball better than Dillon Gabriel. That's why a lot of people were surprised when the Browns drafted Dillon Gabriel ahead of Shedeur Sanders, and that's why a lot of people were even more surprised that Shedeur Sanders fell that far in the draft to begin with. At this point, I think Joe Flacco is probably going to be QB1 in Cleveland, but QB2 and 3 is going to be between Kenny and probably Shedeur. And that's not to say Dillon Gabriel is a bad quarterback or anything, but Shedeur Sanders was one of the most accurate quarterbacks in college football. And yes, there was questions about his arm strength or whatever, but nobody questioned his talent to throw the ball and to be accurate. So hearing that Browns reporter say it's not even close doesn't surprise me at all. But I just think we got to question the Browns for drafting 2 quarterbacks in the same draft anyways.
One comment, that's all it took. One offhand remark from Dillon Gabriel. And suddenly, he wasn't a promising young quarterback anymore. He was Stephen A. Smith's next viral headline. It started like every other press conference. Dillon Gabriel was asked about comparisons. Him, Shedeur Sanders, and a few other rising QBs. And that's when he said it. He said, "I'm a competitor. Some people are entertainers." That one line hit harder than he probably realized. To the average fan, it sounded harmless. But in today's sports world, every sentence is a match waiting to hit gasoline. And Stephen A. Smith, he's the guy holding the lighter. When the clip reached first take, it didn't take long. Stephen A. leaned forward, eyebrows raised. That signature pause before the storm. And then boom, he tore through Gabriel's words like he was breaking down a bad defensive play. "Let me tell you something," he said, voice rising. "You don't shade Shedeur Sanders, you learn from Shedeur Sanders." Every word landed like a punch. Gabriel had walked into the lion's den, and the lion was hungry. But the real hit wasn't just Stephen A.'s tone, it was the way he framed it. He turned Gabriel's comment into a cultural moment, the old school grind mentality versus the new age brand mentality. He made it about what every athlete faces now. Are you competing to win or performing to be seen? And that's why it caught fire. Not just because Stephen A. yelled, he does that all the time, but because in that rant he said what people already felt. Shedeur isn't just playing football, he's playing the game of fame, and winning both at once. By the end of the segment, the internet had taken over. Clips of Stephen A.'s rant flooded TikTok and X. Gabriel's name trended, not for a highlight but for getting verbally folded on live TV. Fans weren't talking about his stats. They were quoting Stephen A.'s punchline, "Competitors show up on the field. Entertainers stay in your head." Memes poured in. Someone edited Shedeur's highlights over Stephen A.'s voice. Another posted, "Dillon Gabriel's career just got first taken." And through it all, Shedeur stayed silent. That silence hit harder than any response could. Because while Gabriel was trending for the wrong reasons, Shedeur was trending just for existing. No tweet, no clapback, no interview. He let the moment speak for itself. And that's the Shedeur effect. He doesn't chase the spotlight follows him. Every time someone tries to question him, the internet does the defending. It's quiet dominance, the kind of presence that says, "I don't need to explain myself. My name does it for me." Meanwhile, Gabriel's PR team was in full damage control mode. He tried clarifying, "I didn't mean it that way." But it was too late. Once Stephen A. has turned your words into a viral moment, you don't control the story anymore. You're just living in it. And that's what makes Stephen A. so powerful. People call him loud, dramatic, even manipulative, but he understands the game better than anyone. He knows that in modern sports, emotion is the economy. The louder the moment, the longer it lives. And Gabriel gave him the perfect setup, a confident comment that could be twisted into a cultural clash. Still, under all the noise, there's something deeper here. Because when you strip away the memes and the outrage, what happened between Gabriel and Stephen A. is just a reflection of how fame works now. You can be skilled, talented, even disciplined. But if you don't understand narrative, you're playing the wrong game. Gabriel thought he was showing humility, separating himself from the entertainers. But in 2025, being an entertainer doesn't mean you're fake. It means you understand attention. It means you know that how people feel about you matters as much as what you do. And that's what Shedeur gets instinctively. He knows when to speak, when to stay silent, and when to let others burn themselves out. That's not just charisma, that's control. Stephen A.'s rant wasn't really about football. It was about hierarchy. Who owns the narrative? Who decides what matters? And by the end of it, one thing was clear. Shedeur Sanders doesn't need to fight for relevance anymore. Everyone else is fighting against it. After the episode, even analysts who usually avoid drama started weighing in. Some said Stephen A. went too far. He's just a kid trying to compete. Others said he was right. If you talk slick, you better back it up. Either way, Gabriel's name kept circulating, but never for the reason he wanted. He went from upcoming QB to the guy Stephen A. cooked. And that's the harsh truth of media fame. You can't choose what makes you go viral. You can only hope it's something you did right, not something you said wrong. Weeks later, when Gabriel walked into team meetings, the whispers followed. Entertainer, someone would joke. He'd laugh it off. But you could tell, it stuck. That's how reputation works. Once it's stamped online, it's inked on your name. Meanwhile, Shedeur, he was out training, dropping subtle messages through actions, not words. Every new clip of him working just made the contrast sharper. One man was chasing redemption, the other was building legacy. And here's where it all ties together. Stephen A. didn't just destroy Gabriel's comment, he used it as a mirror for the whole sports world. He showed that in this era, the media isn't a reflection of the game anymore. It is the game. Every soundbite, every look, every pause can change public perception overnight. Dillon Gabriel learned that the hard way. He thought he was talking football. Stephen A. reminded him he was playing in the arena of culture. And for the audience, that's why we couldn't look away. It wasn't just a takedown. It was theater, philosophy, and entertainment, all colliding in one moment. It's what makes Stephen A. untouchable. He knows when he's performing, and so does everyone watching. By the time the dust settled, Gabriel's competitor versus entertainer line had turned back on him. Because if you think about it, Stephen A. is both. So is Shedeur. The real competitors are the entertainers. They've learned that attention isn't a distraction, it's leverage. And that's the lesson most athletes never learn until it's too late. Play well and you'll be remembered. Play the narrative and you'll be immortal. In the end, Gabriel's moment will fade, but Stephen A.'s rant, and Shedeur's silence will live on as one of those viral sports moments that becomes bigger than the game itself. Because this wasn't just about quarterbacks, it was about power. The power of words, the power of silence, and the power of knowing when to speak and when to let the world speak for you.